Now, the transformation agenda is in full force. Cricket South Africa have announced their quota system at franchise level. The South African Rugby Union has been under the direct firing line from Minister Fikile Mbalula, who has been driving the transformation agenda. Oregon Hoskins was quoted saying this week that he would speak to Coach Heineke Meyer about providing opportunities for black African players. But in a turn of events, Afriforum has now decided to take SARU to court, calling the quota system a crude form of racial discrimination. Afriforum has opted to also go to the IRB and the International Court of Arbitration for a sport if it does not go well here. We are now joined in studio by my guest, Ernst Roets, Deputy CEO of Afriforum, to tell us more. Mr. Roets, thank you very much for speaking to us and welcome to our studios. Let's get straight into it. Tell us what Afriforum have to say regarding this matter.
Well, we've instructed our legal team to file a complaint with the International Rugby Board against the quota system that's being implemented. The reason, therefore, is the International Rugby Board has very strict rules in terms of how sport should be managed. And it particularly states that any form of political intervention and any form of racial discrimination or categorization is not only against the rules, it's misconduct, according to the International Rugby Board. And it goes further than that by stating that this type of misconduct is so serious that the board is compelled to take disciplinary action against any rugby union or any country that implements a system like this.
So I would be right by saying you're calling this racial discrimination, the transformation agenda?
I think it is a form of racial discrimination. It's not a solution to the true problem. The true problem is there's not sufficient development of rugby at primary level in schools. Our basic education system has tremendous flaws in terms of education in itself, and a secondary priority of schools is also development of sports and so forth. So if we cannot even get the education part right, the sports part is completely neglected. So people, and especially black players growing up, don't necessarily have the correct opportunities to develop themselves. And simply saying that we have to mix and match in terms of the composition of the team at the end of the process is not solving the problem. It's actually worsening the problem because it's creating racial friction.
Of course, there is the issue of development, but the South African Rugby Union seems to be getting that right. If you look at Craven Week, which is just a couple of weeks away, we have quite a bit of black African representation, and that says a lot for the development agenda. The issue is actually getting them from the lowest level, which is the school level, up to the higher level. So shouldn't SARU be sort of said, well done for actually doing it, because that's actually not the problem, development in terms of rugby?
No, I think development is the problem. If you look at those players, most of them come from probably less than 10 schools, if you count which schools are the ones from where these players come from. But the schools, especially in rural areas, do not have proper facilities, they do not have proper coaches, so people are not being developed. It's only particular individual schools who have the opportunities and the facilities. So the true problem lies in developing schools that do not have the opportunities. And the solution at the end of the day is in saying that we need to select the best players for the team.
What is the process now?
Well, we've instructed our legal team to draft the complaint. The complaint will be filed soon. And we will also approach the International Court for Sports Arbitration, which is an international forum that deals with this type of issues. And we are quite sure that there's enough merit in our case. There's other ways that we can solve the problem if there's a problem in terms of development of players. But the solution or this quota system or a forced quota system is an attempted quick fix, but it will not solve the true problem.
The transformation agenda has been implemented in sporting codes across the board. Why are you just taking SARU to court?
Well, we're actually investigating the different options. We had a discussion with the Minister of Sport, Fikile Mbalula, a few weeks ago, and we spoke about the big five, rugby, cricket, netball, soccer, and athletics. And we're actually investigating all five. But the crux or the pinnacle now is the rugby issue. We've heard the statement by Oregon Hoskins now, so that is our focus at the moment. But we will certainly look into. We're actually already looking into the other sports as well.
The transformation agenda comes from the Department of Sport, from the Ministry of Sport. So why have you gone directly to SARU and not maybe just spoken to the ministry or taken the ministry to court?
Well, we have actually spoken with the ministry, and we've said to the ministry that we are investigating the possibility of going to court. The reason now why the complaint is filed against SARU is because SARU is the body at the end of the day who's implementing this system. and according to the rules of the International Rugby Board, that's the appropriate way to go. But the core of the problem is not so much SARU. The problem is actually the political intervention and the political pressure that the Minister of Sport is putting on SARU. So that is, I agree with you, that's actually where the focus should be. So we have a dual strategy. We're focusing on SARU, but we're also focusing on the Minister. That's why we had a meeting with the Minister about a week ago.
Has SARU given any kind of response as to what stand they will be taking?
I heard recently through the media that the president of SARU said he's not concerned about the complaint because Afriforum has been talking about this for a few years. His response actually surprised us because, yes, we have been talking about this in the past every time there's a threat about quota systems, but it has now reached the point where it actually seems it's going to be implemented. So now Afriforum has reached the point where we're actually filing the complaint. So I think SARU and the president of SARU hasn't realized the seriousness of the situation yet, but I think they soon will.
Obviously, development is quite a lengthy process. It takes years and years. How do you suggest that black Africans will get a chance otherwise?
Well, this is exactly what we discussed with the Minister of Police, and we said that from Afriforum side, we are willing and we would like to become involved in development, especially development of black players in rural communities where they don't have the facilities. Yes, unfortunately, it is a long process. I mean, it takes 12 years to go through school. School needs to have proper facilities, but it's the only solution. It's the only sustainable solution to the problem. And the government is still trying, and SARU in this case, to implement this quick fix problem, but it's not solving the problem. It's worsening the problem because it's creating tension.
And in the meantime, the players that are at franchise level and on their way to the senior level, don't you think that they're going to fall short in actually getting opportunities if this goes to court?
Well, I think the priority of the coach is, it should be, and it is, to win the team. I think it's ludicrous to, for example, to say that the coach, Heineke Meyer, has some sort of a racial agenda and he's only picking the white players. He's not only picking white players. We have some of the best players in the world, the best black players in the world. But the priority should be to pick the best team so that the best team can win. But then also the priority of the Department of Sports should be to develop people so that people can compete on an equal level where it's not necessary to micromanage and to enforce racial quotas because that is against the rules of rugby.
Mr. Roets, thank you very, very much for that insight, and we look forward to see what happens in this case, and of course, if you are taking the other codes, to follow the same process.
Thank you very much.